Hello friends, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. My name is Elise, and this is my mystical bookshelf. And today I have for you a middle grade review. It is A Year Without Autumn by Liz Kessler. And I just noticed, I think a couple weeks ago, that Liz Kessler also wrote the popular book series, The Tale of Emily Winsnap. So I also own those. My best friend got them for me for my birthday one year. I can't remember what year, but she bought me like the first three. I don't think the fourth one had come out yet. So I'm probably going to read that, maybe in the summer. But today, I know it says A Year Without Autumn, and it looks like it's going to be the perfect autumnal read, but it's actually, it goes a little bit deeper than that. I would say I'm going to try and do like song recommendations for books, because I personally love to listen to music while I read, which I know is kind of weird. I know a lot of people don't do that, or they get too distracted or something, but it's just something that I think it sets a soundtrack for the book. And I find that really cool, because sometimes songs align with books, and you don't think that they would, but then you listen to it, and you're like, oh wow, this actually kind of goes with the theme. So this book, the song that I would attribute to this book is Eldest Daughter by Taylor Swift. If you love that song, you will understand why I say that. Because this is about Jenny and Autumn, and they are both the oldest in the family and the oldest daughter, obviously. They both have younger brothers, and they're best friends, and it's about their family vacation that they take every year, and it's kind of like a time traveling story. So basically there's this, they go to the same hotel, like timeshare every year, and I forget what it's called. I guess it doesn't truly matter. But they always go to the same place every year together as families. And they're best friends, their moms are friends, the dads are friends. The brothers aren't like best friends, but they get along with one another. So they're kind of close-knit families. And it's really sweet. And the time traveling element is there's this old elevator in one of the timeshare condos at this like hotel like place, and Jenny goes into one of those elevators to go talk to Autumn, but she ends up time traveling to a year ahead, and she's so confused. She doesn't know what's going on at first, and she figures out that her and Autumn aren't friends anymore next year, and she's kind of sad about that. And Autumn is not the same as she was. And in terms of who Autumn is in this like present time, she reminds me of my childhood best friend. She's very outgoing, and she's adventurous. She's always egging Jenny on to try new things. And this person that I was friends with, it basically reminded me of Jenny and Autumn. That was basically me and her. And she had passed away last year, I think, and that was kind of hard to deal with. So reading this, it kind of made me, I feel like I have a more special connection to this book because of my own personal experiences. Because Jenny is totally me, and Autumn is totally my childhood best friend. And it made me emotional, like, reading this. And it's a really good book. So Autumn is not the same person she was a year ago, and Jenny's also not the same person she was a year ago. Because Jenny has like really long hair, like I do, but it's really curly. Mine's sort of curly, but it's not super curly. And she has like really curly, beautiful hair. And a year into the future, she cuts her hair. And that's something that Jenny has wanted to do. So it's kind of like, I feel like this song, Eldest Daughter, perfectly describes how Jenny is feeling in this book, because it's really hard growing up and like realizing what you want, who you are, and she's only 12. So when she travels into the future, she's 13, but being a teenager is really hard. So I feel like that first time jump is like kind of a shock to Jenny, and she tries to figure out why her and Autumn aren't friends anymore. And there's this great tragedy that happened with dealing with or regarding Autumn's brother, Mikey. And it's really, really sad. And it feels like it's Jenny's duty to figure out what happened and how to stop it. And it's not really explicitly stated why Jenny needs to do this. It's just, it is on Jenny for some reason in this world. So Jenny goes back to the elevator, goes back in time, and everything is the same as it was, but Jenny has lost time, I guess. Or like, people don't know where she went. Like, people are confused, like they're asking her, where were you? Or, it's been this so-and-so time, where have you been? And Jenny is like, well, in her head, she's like, I've been in the future. And she's trying to put all these pieces together, and it's really interesting because every time she goes into the elevator, so the first time she goes to the second floor, and she goes ahead 1 year, and then another time she goes in the elevator, she goes to the third floor, and she goes ahead 2 years. So it's really interesting how the time jumps work, because it's very, I don't know, it was kind of trippy at first, but I kind of got the hang of it the more that I was reading it. And her mom, and this time jump is sort of all encompassing with their families. Like, this accident that happens is something that truly ripples through all of their families. It causes Autumn and Jenny to not be friends. It causes Autumn's mom to go into a deep depression and to like need therapy. It causes her dad, Autumn's dad, to become an alcoholic essentially. And it also affects Jenny's family because her mom and her dad end up getting divorced. So it's kind of like, it's weird how one small event can trigger something so profound. And I think that's like the biggest takeaway from this book is, don't take anything for granted if you're in the present moment with people. It sort of reminds me of the last Christmas or Thanksgiving that I had with my whole family, with my grandma being alive. And that was back when I was 15 or 16. I could have been a little bit older than that, but that was like the last time that we were all together as like a big extended family. And I remember thinking when I was at the table, I wish I could take like a video of this. I didn't have an iPhone. I didn't have a phone that would like capture like a video of good quality of that memory. But I remember sitting there thinking, I wish I could capture this on video, because I know that as time goes on, things are never going to be the same. And it was a really profound thought for me to have at such a young age, because I don't even think my grandma was sick at that time. I think it was just, it's weird how kids can have these like weird existential crises when they're young. Like Jenny has these same thoughts. Like, she wants to do all these things when she's older. She wants to cut her hair. She wants to change her style. She wants to be a different person. But then when she goes into the future, she realizes, well, maybe I didn't actually want that. Maybe I didn't actually want to cut my hair. And that's another thing that's similar to Jenny and me, because I cut my hair when I was in 5th grade, and I cut it really, really short, and I had regretted it. And now, that's why I kind of refuse to cut my hair now. But it's kind of the same sentiment. It's like you have all these ideas of things that you want in life, but when you're young, and then you really don't truly know what you want. So it's just really thought-provoking, to say the least. So, and in the future timelines too, Jenny's mom is pregnant in the present timeline. So when she goes ahead all these years, her mom is not pregnant and has the baby. So she gets to meet her younger sibling, Thea, her little sister. Because in the present timeline, they didn't know whether it was a boy or a girl. They thought it was going to be a boy. But then Jenny finds out it's going to be a girl. So that's kind of the silver lining that Jenny realizes, is that even through all of this tragedy, there's a little bright light of Thea being born. But Thea, even though she is that silver lining, she's born into a home of strife, basically, I guess. And it's kind of sad, but thankfully, this book ends happily. It's, if you end up reading it, I would skip this part of my video if you watched this far. Because she ends up going back in time and being able to fix everything. So the head injury that Mikey goes through, because the present timeline in this is that Jenny and Autumn are going to go horseback riding because Autumn is adventurous and she wants to go do something crazy. And I mean, horseback riding's not super crazy, but and she has to they have to end up taking her younger brother with them, and he gets on this horse that he's not supposed to be on, and the horse is kind of crazy. I guess that's the crazy part of horseback riding, is you don't know what temperament the horse is going to have. I feel like horses are very fragile creatures. Like, they have a very fragile emotional state. Like, one thing can, like, set them off. Because I know that's a big thing with horseback riding, is, like, making sure you don't get thrown off your horse, because that can be very tragic. And that's what happens to Mikey. He gets thrown off his horse, and because Jenny's not there, because she ends up going, in the present timeline, she ends up going somewhere else with her mom and her brother, but Autumn and Mikey end up going, and Mikey gets thrown off his horse and gets hit on the head very hard, and there's this bump that forms on the back of his neck. I think it's like I feel like the doctor said it was like a fluid retention of some sort, like his spinal fluid had leaked somehow into the outer crevices of his skull, and it formed like I don't know the medical term. They talked about it in the book. I thought it was interesting. But it made him go into a coma, whatever it was, medically speaking. And that's the event that spiraled everything else to happen, because it worries Jenny's mom, and Jenny's mom goes into labor prematurely because she's stressed out about it. And then she ends up being so stressed about the whole situation that she gets into like unnecessary fights with her husband, and that causes separation between them. And then Autumn's mom goes into depression. So the fact that Jenny can go back and is actually present once she realizes what she can do, because the whole reason that Mikey didn't go to the hospital was because nobody thought his head injury was super serious, when in reality it was really serious. Because Jenny figures out if he would have gone to the hospital within the first hour that he hit his head, none of this would have happened. So that's what Jenny does. She goes back in time as like a last-ditch effort, because at this point she's like 3 or 4 years into the future, and everything is still messed up, and she's really upset. She's like on the edge of tears at the end, and she goes back to the elevator and it's not there. And she's like closing her eyes and like willing it to be there. And in the end, she ends up going back because of the hope that she feels. And she does end up going back. And she ends up going horseback riding with Autumn and Mikey. And the same thing does happen. Mikey gets thrown off his horse. But this time, Jenny says, no, you need to take him to the hospital because there's something truly wrong with him. And if you don't take him to the hospital, something bad's gonna happen. I just know it. And nobody really questions Jenny. They're just like, okay, thank you for speaking up about this. Because even Mikey doesn't want to go to the hospital. And Mikey is kind of younger. He's like 5 or 6. So obviously it's scary for him. But everyone's really happy that Jenny ended up speaking up. So I guess the big lesson in this book specifically is speak up. Always speak your mind. Don't be afraid to tell things to people, because sometimes saying the right thing, saying something to someone, it can change the trajectory of everything. Because 1 hour, 1 minute, 1 second, it always makes a big difference. Doesn't matter what the situation is. I guess this book could also be in the same vein as Ruin the Friendship. Like, always tell someone how you feel, or don't be afraid to say something if you think something's wrong in your gut. Trust your gut. That's another thing. So I guess with this book, the main themes are don't take the present for granted, and always speak up about things that you know are wrong, or that you know in your heart you feel like they're wrong. And I think that's a really good lesson to teach for a middle grade book, because it's really important to learn those lessons early in life rather than later in life. But I guess it's better late than never. But it is easier to have those lessons in the back of your mind when you're like 12 or 13, and then you can reflect on them more. And yeah, I don't know. I got lots of good things to say about that, and that this book is amazing. I gave it 5 stars. It made me cry. I had a lot of different connections to it, and it was really good. I really enjoy Liz Kessler. It made me cry, like sad tears and happy tears, and I would definitely recommend it if you enjoy like deeper middle grade books, because this was a middle grade book that is not lighthearted. Most of them are lighthearted that I read, and I thought this was going to be lighthearted too, but I was wrong. But it's really good. I would recommend it. I also recommend it if you like time traveling stories, because that was pretty interesting. That was an interesting little plot device, the time traveling. I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, so that is A Year Without Autumn by Liz Kessler. I highly recommend. 5 out of 5 stars. I would listen to Eldest Daughter while reading it. It puts everything into perspective with that song, because it really shows where Taylor's coming from, because she's coming from the perspective of her 12-year-old self, probably. And that just makes everything better with that song. But yeah, so thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And I will see you in the next video. Goodbye, friends.